Everybody introduce yourselves while you're at it, and I will get TikTok rolling here. That should be correct. Hang on my iPad. Um, There we go. All right. Excellent. Woo! And we will, as always, wait a minute or two for folks to arrive because they kind of get the notice on TikTok and YouTube and have to show up. Okay, Syndicate, watch it. All right, welcome everybody. People are being a little crazy on YouTube. Anyway, hey everybody. Oh boy, how are we all doing today? Finally, it's like a nice day in DC after 2 months of hotter than hell weather. It's actually not humid. It's glorious today. So very nice day. Took the dog out. It was nice. Hey, Tomcat, thank you for that. But just very nice day. Anyway, how's everybody else doing? Like I said, introduce yourselves. Say where you're from if you don't mind. Yeah, the Alabama fight. I know that's wild. Thank you, John, for the gift there. I was watching that on CNN. Sasha's good. Oh, thank you, Big Hawk. That's one of the best ones they've done so far as gifts go. Thank you, Lori. Yeah, any case, oh my God, I'm going to yawn at you already. I'm actually having my iced tea and everything. So I've got my iced tea. Better stop me from yawning. Thank you, Lee, for the gift on TikTok. Oh, anyway. Oh, hey, Pedro, thank you for that. I'm trying to think of other, we're going to get to the news in a second. Just waiting for folks to join us. Another minute. What else is going on today? I don't know. I thought Trump was going to get indicted today for the 4th indictment, but it didn't happen. Maybe tomorrow, only because it just is suspicious. It's suspicious. Is the U.S. Embassy still open in Russia? Yes. It hasn't closed, but it's shut down. I try to go to bed around 12 or 1 at the latest, and then I get up at 9. But it's just, I don't sleep well. I haven't slept well in years, so I'm always kind of yawning. It's kind of annoying. What do you do? Anyway. Hello, Ontario. All right, guys, I'm going to get rolling. Why not? Welcome, everybody. John Aravosis here with the Aravosis Report, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., beaming to TikTok and YouTube and everywhere else. The way the show works, I cover the news for about the first half of the show. Second half of the show, take your guys' questions. You will notice, I don't know how big it's going to be. There's a new emoji today that I put on TikTok and YouTube for the paid subscribers. Take a look. I have no idea if it's going to be too small to use. Thank you, Martin. When you see it, you'll appreciate why it's small because that is the emoji, but see if it may be too small. I'm a little worried about this. Anyway, see what you guys think. Any case, yeah, so I will cover the news, then take your guys' questions. If you want to support my work, which I very much appreciate because I do this full time and I do it for, see, I can't even, what's funny? When I look at it, I can't even tell what it is, Cheryl. I may have to change that. It's the Charlie's Angels silhouette going like this. But when I look at it, I can't quite tell what it is. So, shoot, I may have to find a different Charlie's Angels thing. I don't know. Anyway, guys, so if you can, I appreciate very much the gifts on TikTok, the gifts on YouTube, super chat questions, etc. To support my work. I do this for free. I've been doing it full time since the war broke out. So quite literally, your gifts are my income. You help me keep doing this, so I appreciate it. What else? Super chat questions. I will always get to those as the next question. So thank you for that on YouTube. Oh, and thank you, by the way, super stickers from Soren. I will always try to do a shout out when I see gifts like that. So thank you, Soren, for that. Let me get rolling. So today is day 530 of Vladimir Putin's special military operation in Ukraine. Really nasty story today out of eastern Ukraine. The Russians hit a residential area in a town called Pokrovsk, or in eastern Ukraine, right sort of northwest of Donetsk. On my map here, here's Donetsk, a big city in the east, more or less around here-ish, where my point of my pen is. Russia used a missile, so they knew what they were doing. It was a missile that was very precise. They hit the residential area, and then they waited 30 to 40 minutes and hit the same area again. Now, a couple things going on here. One, the fact that they hit the same area twice within 40 minutes means they hit that area on purpose. Two, it was a residential area. They were trying to kill civilians. Three, and this is the really bad part with this, When you hit an area twice like that with a little bit of time in between, it's called a double tap. Thank you, Carol, in military terms. Double taps are something that particularly terrorists like to do. Al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, big fan of the double taps. The idea is you hit an area, and Russia does this all the time, as does Assad in Syria. The idea is you hit an area, you blow it up, you wait 30 minutes, 40 minutes. What happens in those 30 to 40 minutes? Ambulances show up, police show up, civilians show up. People try to get their loved ones out of the rubble, right? People are pulled out of the rubble and laid down. They're getting medical assistance. The whole reason you do a second tap is because you're trying to kill all the civilians and all the medical personnel who have arrived to help. That is why you do a double tap. That is why Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden, for example, would do this when they were attacking all of us. This is why Putin did it. I mean, it's and this, by the way, this isn't even negotiable. What I mean is, this happened. This isn't people think it happened. It happened, and it absolutely was a double tap. Thank you, Ellie. Really disgusting. 7 people died, 80 people were injured, and again, most of them were first responders and civilians. Thank you, Danan. Another story. I'm going to warn you guys first. There's not a ton of news today. Thank you, Maverick, for the whale there. Appreciate that. We'll do the one-handed wave there. There isn't a ton of news today. So I'm warning you up front, and which means we'll have more time to discuss and do questions and everything else. But there are reports, unconfirmed, that a large number of Ukrainian troops, thank you, adventurers, that a large number of Ukrainian troops crossed the Dnipro River, more or less around here, actually, and are now fighting on the south of the river. Thank you, Ali, fighting the Russians. Now, this is very interesting if true, because this is the area where the flood happened, okay? The dam that burst, more or less where the tip of my pen is, the water comes down, exits here. So the dam was here. The dam breaks. This area gets flooded, okay? This area, water is a reservoir created by the dam. This area becomes dry. I mean, dry with a very small river, right? Well, now the water's receded. And because of the floods, a lot of this area is washed out, and a lot of Russia's defenses in the area were washed out. And it's always been on people's minds whether the Ukrainians would take advantage of the flood to perhaps try to attack down here, because the Russians don't have as many defenses around here as they do around here. This is where it was always thought the Ukrainians were going to attack. Not as much here that the Ukrainians have to fight against. In any case, so the story today, but again, I found nothing else sort of talking about it. Let's see what happens. Is that a significant number of Ukrainian troops crossed the river here from the north, controlled by Ukraine, south, controlled by Russia, crossed here, and they're fighting the Russians here. Very interesting if they do. Now, this is also a very good area for Ukraine to take. In the counteroffensive, the really big initial the initial big goal, meaning of the big goals, right? The ultimate big goal is getting all their territory back. But the initial big goal of the counteroffensive is to cut Russia's occupation in half, okay? Oh, thank you, Annie. I haven't seen that one in a while. I didn't even know that was back, the fruit hat. Russia occupies all of Crimea. They occupy all of this, where my finger is. So basically here, 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 and here, right? Ukraine wants to come down, and they want to cut off Crimea from the rest of the occupation, okay? That will make it easier eventually to take Crimea. It also stops the Russians from being able to supply the north by coming across to Crimea, because Russia's over here and it's over here. So they can supply it by land here or by land this way. So if they can cut off Crimea here, they can stop Russia from resupplying the troops through here, which would be very beneficial for Ukraine in the long run. So coming through Kherson up here, not a bad idea. I mean, again, the Russians on the ground will know better than you or I will militarily how feasible this is versus other directions. But that would be one big reason why the Ukrainians might be coming through here, because it would help them to cut off Crimea from everything else. So just a possibility. Just keep in mind, again, not a lot of news on it today, but there was a big report saying it might be happening. In terms of the grain deal, interesting sort of grain news today. First of all, around 70 ships, thank you, Nico, appear to be backed up along the Danube River between Ukraine and Romania. This is the area where Putin has been hitting pretty heavily. Remember when he was firing at the Ukrainian ports that were being used to put grain on ships. And these are the ports along the Danube that were right next to Romania. And there was concern because Romania is a NATO ally and Putin was firing literally hundreds of feet away from NATO territory. Well, Putin has done a pretty good job now of scaring people from basically going to those ports, of scaring ships. There's about 70 ships right now that are backed up, kind of in limbo, waiting to see what they do. Now, interestingly, Zelensky today, related to this, called on Russia to stop hitting Ukraine's ports. He warned that Ukraine will respond in kind if the Russia doesn't stop. Let me read some quotes. If Russia continues to dominate the Black Sea outside of its territory, blockading or firing at us again, launching at our ports, Ukraine will do the same. We don't have as many weapons, but if they continue to shoot, they may be left without vessels by the end of the war. I think, first of all, this is not an idle threat. With Putin, you don't get really far with threats to start with, because keep in mind, what do the Russians do? The Russians lie all the time. So if you're a Russian, Putin, you're hearing Ukraine threat and you're kind of going, well, they're making a threat, but honestly, I make threats too, and I lie whenever I make threats. So I'm not sure Putin's going to believe Zelensky's threat. Thank you, Annie Cat, for the super sticker. That's the first problem. Second of all, what I think Zelensky's really doing here, he does not expect Putin to go, oh my God, Zelensky threatened me. I'm going to stop blowing up Ukrainian ports. I think Zelensky is laying down a sort of the precursor. He's setting the stage for Ukraine to go after Russia's ports and to go after Russia's ships. And frankly, maybe even go after ships that come into Russian ports, even if they're not Russian ships. I think Zelensky is trying to make it clear that he told everybody publicly, he told the ships publicly, he told the Russians publicly, we are going after you if you keep going after us. So that's what's going to be interesting with this is I've got a feeling that we are going to see a major uptick in Ukrainian attacks on ships pretty soon. Thank you as well, fella. I appreciate that. Because of the very fact that Zelensky said this today. Wagner Group. So update on the Wagner Group. Really scary and creepy. So, the Wagner guys are the mercenaries who tried to overthrow Putin. They are also Russian fighters. They are really some of the best fighters that the Russians have. They're murderers and thugs and war criminals, don't get me wrong, but they're the best fighters Putin's got, basically, which is a big part of the reason why after the insurrection or while it was going on, Putin wanted to negotiate because he can't afford to get rid of them because they're the best fighters he's got, right? Also, I do think that Prigozhin's got something on Putin. I think he knows where the bodies are buried, the guy that runs the Wagner Group, Prigozhin. So anyway, we know that as part of the deal, thank you, Gaia, to end the insurrection, the rebellion, Putin agreed, or I should say, Prigozhin agreed to move the Wagner guys, or at least some of them, to Belarus, and that he would go there as well. Right? Belarus is the dictatorship that is right next to Russia. Russia's over here, and then going way over that way, like 11 time zones. But Belarus over here, dictatorship, right on the border with Ukraine. Russian troops actually came through Belarus when they were invading. So you got Belarus here, and Belarus has got about 4,000, according to the Poles, the Polish government. About 4,000 Wagner troops are in Belarus. Now, what's getting weird is, and I've been mentioning this to you guys for the last couple of weeks now, the Belarusian government is doing all, run by a dictator, Lukashenko, is doing all it can to basically stoke the flames of war. Oh, my nose is itching. To stoke the flames of war with NATO, to scare the NATO countries bordering Belarus. You've got Poland. So Poland shares the border with Ukraine here and then shares the border with Belarus here. So you got Poland here. You've got Lithuania here sharing a border with Belarus. You've got Latvia sharing a border with Belarus, right? So all three of these NATO countries share the border with Belarus, and you've got the Wagner guys there, and the dictator of Belarus is basically trying to scare the NATO countries. He has been holding military exercises near their border with the Wagner guys. Just now, the latest news, they are constructing a tent city 24 kilometers or 15 miles away from the Ukrainian border. So the tent city is more or less around here, maybe, that they're constructing, very close to Ukraine, because they're also trying to freak out Ukraine into thinking, oh gosh, are the Wagner guys going to explode, or go to invade again? Does Ukraine have to move troops from the counteroffensive all the way up here to be prepared just in case? They are conducting live fire tank tests near the border town of Grodno. Now, that's around up here, okay? Why does that matter? A, it's on the border of Poland and Lithuania. B, not just the border of Poland and Lithuania. Oops, sorry, move over here. Not just the border of Poland and Lithuania, where they're holding the military test or the live fire, meaning live ammunition tank tests. They're doing it because that is an area of land that NATO is concerned about. It's called the Suwalki Gap. There is a I always like to show a map just because I think there's always going to be people who don't know what this is. Let me see if I can find it quickly. I have a map from the other day. If I can find it quickly, I will bring this up. Actually, let me try something just for fun. Sometimes on the iPhone, when you tell it to look for stuff, it can pull it up, and sometimes it doesn't. I told it to look for a map, and I'm seeing it did. It pulled it up. There you go. See, sometimes the iPhone comes through. So this is, I'm just going to show you quickly there. You can see Belarus. You can see Belarus to the east, Poland to the west. So you can start from the red circle, okay? That red circle, I'll show you guys in a second, is Russian territory in Europe called Kaliningrad. North of it, Lithuania. South of it, Poland. East of it, Lithuania and Poland, and then Belarus. I marked in yellow the Lithuanian-Poland border. That border is only 60 miles, I think, long. It's not long at all. The concern is, I'll show you guys here. So you see the red circle is the Russian territory in Europe. Russia's all the way on the right side of the map. You can barely even see it, right? Northeast of Belarus there, east of Latvia. So you've got the red section, that's Russia, little part of Russia in the middle of Europe. South of it, Poland. North of it, Lithuania. East of it, that yellow area is the border area of Lithuania and Poland, about 60 miles long, and you see next to it Belarus. The concern is that the Russians may try a fast one at some point and try to grab that yellow land so that they have a road connection connecting. Oh, thank you, Dawn, for the gifts, and David and Addie. Sorry, I saw some gifts come in while I was showing my oh, hello, you. The dog is trying to get. Oh, all right, there you go. All right. Dog was trying to get comfortable here. There you go. Sorry, dog's trying to get comfortable under my desk here. Thank you, Red Watts. The concern is that Russia will try to grab that land and have a land bridge connecting Russia through Belarus, which is basically a Russian puppet, that little strip of land to Kaliningrad, the Russian territory. Thank you, Red Watts. The fact that they're holding live fire tests, firing actual tanks, firing actual weapons right across the border from that area, thank you, Dean Loss, is because Poland is trying to screw around with Lithuania and Poland. Who owns that land? The land is Russia. The land that I circled in red is actual Russian territory that they stole after World War II. So you've got a little bit of Russia in the middle of Europe. I mean, in a way, it's like thinking of, well, it's hard to think of an example elsewhere of this. I'm trying to think. I mean, you've got like French territories overseas, you've got American territories overseas, but to me, this is kind of a weird one that literally you've got, contiguous land, Russia, multiple countries, little bit of Russia. They stole it, basically, as the Russians do. The other thing they're doing is the Wagner exercises near Brest. Oh, yeah. So Wagner is also doing exercises down here. Again, trying to freak out Poland, which is right next door. You get the idea, right? You get the idea. They're trying to freak everybody out, basically. I think it's a little weird. Actually, I will say this. Russia knows that they will be destroyed if they get into a war with NATO. Okay, they know that. The yellow bit on the map is the connection I was explaining, the border of Lithuania and Poland. It's the area of land that Russia would like to grab so that it can connect the Russian portion, Kaliningrad, to the rest of Russia. They're trying to freak out NATO. I think they're trying to do whatever they can. They don't want NATO to go to war because they know they'll be destroyed, right? Russia's having a hard time beating Ukraine. I mean, at best, not at best, you could argue that Russia and Ukraine are so far almost tied. right? We're hoping Ukraine's able to break through, but so far it's almost a tie in some ways, right? The fact that Russia's almost tied with Ukraine, they don't want to take on all of NATO. They'll lose if they take on all of NATO. It'll be a disaster for Russia. If Russia goes to war with Poland, if Belarus goes to war with Poland, all of NATO gets involved too. Russia loses. This is not about trying to get into a war with Poland. This is about trying to freak out NATO, right? To try to freak out Biden, freak out the French and the Germans. Oh my God, look what's happening now. Now we're having border skirmishes with Poland, the NATO ally. Does that mean the U.S. could go to war with NATO, with Poland? I mean, not with Poland. The U.S. could go to war with Russia over Belarus. They're trying to give ammunition to the naysayers. I think especially the Russians are trying to give ammunition via the Belarus to the naysayers in America. I do. I think they want Fox News to pick it up and go crazy. They want Donald Trump to pick it up and go crazy. And they're hoping that especially those two who are the biggest mouthpieces for sort of anti-Ukraine stuff, although Trump's been kind of weird lately. Trump, for some reason, has kind of started to moderate on Ukraine. It's been really weird. Now, Trump could switch again, but the last couple of months, he's gotten a little bit better. It's been a little weird. But nonetheless, they're hoping this gives voice, gives a message to the anti-Ukraine crazies, basically, in America. Anyway, something to keep an eye on. And then I told you, the polls estimate that there's probably about 4,000 Wagner troops right now in Belarus. Let me do a quick pitch for my subscriptions and then a couple more stories. Quick sip of tea. So, excuse me. One of the ways you can support my work, in addition to the gifts on TikTok and the gifts on YouTube, which I hope you keep coming, is to sign up for subscriptions. Now, on YouTube, you guys will notice the folks with the green names: David, Newsham, Carlos, Michael, Greg, Annie. Who else we got? I'm scrolling up to see Greg, Susan. Anyway, you get it, right? Lots of people, lots of scrolling. I don't want to miss people, but I'm sure I'm going to miss some of you. Those are the folks. Thank you, Jetta. Those are the folks who signed up to be monthly contributors. Thank you, Jay. And you can do that on YouTube, by clicking the $sign at the bottom of the chat box. You'll see super chat, super stickers, another way of helping. Super chats are questions you can ask that I always promise I will answer. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Jay. Super stickers are simply gifts, basically just a gift without a question. And the membership is a monthly contribution. Now, when you do that, I will, first of all, very much appreciate it. Second of all, your name will turn green. So I will, like TNT right there, I will know, and Sally, thank you guys. I will know, therefore, looking at your names, that you guys are the monthly contributors. And even though I may not always call you out for it, when I see it, I know it. So thank you. I at least, I'm clocking it in here, a thank you to you, just so you know. Also, it lets you, sorry, I'm looking at, for TikTok, and again, on Twitch, exactly. Sorry, I'm showing the Twitch people here too. But it also will make you a VIP member of our Discord community, where you can go and do our VIP auctions that are only for paid members. And you can also go and join our weekly show. I do a weekend show most Saturdays. Thank you, Royce. This Saturday, I'm actually traveling to Chicago, but most Saturdays at 11 a.m. Saturday Eastern time, I have an extra show just for the paid subscribers to thank you guys. And usually we beam in my friend Vlad from Ukraine, and it's really quite interesting. That is included as well. Now, for you guys on TikTok, the easiest way for you guys to do it is to become an SNN, a subscriber on TikTok. Another way, the only problem with that, I will tell you right now, TikTok is trying to fix it as I speak, but you should be able to get VIP rights on my Discord by subscribing on TikTok. But it's broken and TikTok's trying to fix it. Thank you, Addie. It's worked for 2 people so far, but that's it. Hopefully the other 200, we're going to get TikTok fixing it soon, but they are working on it. But in the meantime, you could go to Ko-fi. Ko-fi is another way, basically a Patreon lookalike. You can find the link in my bio. It's the Linktree link in my TikTok bio. Click it. Opens up a screen. You'll see the top one says Ko-fi, Ko-fi. Thank you, Marcy. Click Ko-fi, go there, and you can sign up for a monthly membership. And that's another way of supporting my work. You could just do that on Ko-fi, and basically you have subscribed and supporting my work. If you want to link it to Discord, you as well can become a VIP member of my Discord community. It's free over there. You go to Discord, you sort of set it up a connection to Ko-fi. We've got instructions over there. Thank you, Rainbow. And it, again, would give you access to my VIP auctions, cool stuff from Ukraine, our weekend show. Thank you, Martin. Some emojis as well. You get special emojis on, well, actually, you get special emojis by using the Sasha News Network, the TikTok subscribers, and the YouTube. You get special emojis. In any case, there's lots of ways of doing it. But if you could, I would appreciate it. It's just a way for folks to basically give a monthly contribution, which makes it a lot easier to do the work if I know sort of how much is coming in each month. Just something to keep in mind. All right. Thank you, Denon, for the hat. Oh, see Laka as well. Thank you, Laka. I'm seeing Laka's name pop up. All right, guys, let's jump ahead here. So really good story today. Yesterday, we talked about how we were a little worried about the Germans. There was a story that the German government was not necessarily sending as many of the weapons that they promised to Ukraine had not shown up. Well, story out today that the German government via the Rheinmetall. I always forget if Rheinmetall is a private corporation or a German government body. Is it private corporation, guys? But the German government was the one involved in this somehow. But the German government, no, this is good though. This is good. The German government found a private owner of 50 Leopard 1 tanks. These are the German tanks that were going to Ukraine, Leopard 1s and 2s. 2s are more modern. There was a private buyer who bought them, I believe, off of Belgium back like 10 years ago. The Belgian government, I think it was Belgium, needed to save some money, and they sold 50 of the tanks, and they literally sold them to a private company. It was crazy. Well, Rheinmetall, with the help of the German government, went and bought back these 50 tanks, and they're going to upgrade them, repair them, whatever, and then 30 of them at least are going to be provided to Ukraine. Now, some of them may be provided as, thank you, Artur, for that. Some of them may be provided simply as parts, to replace some of the parts for the other tanks, but still very cool. I mean, very cool news on that front. So thank you, Germany, for that. And the final story to mention was sort of a Russian polling update. Somebody had asked the other day about whether there's polls of Russian, feelings on things. And there was a story out today I thought I would mention. Hang on. It's another sip of tea. And Sky News covered it, but it was Sky News summarizing a piece in Foreign Affairs magazine. Publication, Foreign Affairs, hard to describe what it is, but very august, well-known publication here in the U.S. on foreign policy issues. And a woman with Carnegie Russia, Tatiana Stanovaya, was writing about recent polling in Russia. And she found that before the invasion, just 8% of Russians said they overtly admired Vladimir Putin, while 48%, thank you, user 2119, while 48% said they wanted him reelected next year, right? So thank you, Vicky and Jonathan. So 8% said they overtly admired Putin. 48% wanted him reelected. Now the number is 19% overtly admire him. So the numbers jumped from 8% to 19% overtly admiring Putin. And the numbers have jumped from 48% wanting him reelected to 68% wanting him reelected. Now, thank you, Mark Starr and Jonathan, for the gifts there, and Vicky. I will say that there is, one thing you got to keep in mind is they're at war. And when you're at war, sometime, usually at the beginning of a war, at least, the leader's popularity goes through the roof. I mean, George Bush, very interestingly, when he declared, George Bush the first, the father, okay, when he declared war on Iraq, the good war, back, what was it, 1991, I'm going to guess, 1991, I think. Thank you, B. Smith. I always forget the exact year, 90 or 91, when Iraq invaded Kuwait and was going to annex Kuwait, and U.S. invades with a big coalition of 90 countries, whatever it was, 1991. Thanks, Shane. The first Gulf War, the good one, the real one. Well, with that war, Bush's popularity jumped to 91% in the U.S. Thank you, Lisa and AJ, for the gifts. 91% popularity, okay? Within a year, Bush was defeated for re-election, okay? Defeated for re-election. Think about that, right? He was at 91% support because of the war, because of the invasion. And 1 year later, he lost re-election. So the point is, Russia, now mind you, Russia's a year and a half into this war, so it's kind of interesting that Putin's support would be that high. That's not good. That is not good. But just something to keep in mind. Now, at the same time, you've got the Prigozhin stuff going on. I mean, it's not like Putin has everything going for him, right? He almost got overthrown. He's clearly worried about that. He's clearly worried about pissing off the Russian people, which is the reason he's not having a nationwide draft mobilization, because he's afraid of basically his own people overthrowing him. So that's kind of interesting too, In any case, oops. Oh, you know what I did? I had the microphone off. I had the microphone off. I totally did not realize I'd taken the microphone off. Sorry about that. I don't know why I did that. Well, now my sound's going to be much better for you all. I apologize for that. Well, you said microphone noise, and I went, what? It's because I didn't have my microphone on. Thank you for the gift. Who was that? Boy Mom. All right, guys. So that is it for the news tonight. Let's go and do questions. I will tell you really quick. Actually, yes. So on Discord, one of the cool things we have on Discord is our Discord community is free, discord.aravosis.com. We go and we talk about Ukraine, talk about lots of topics. I go and check in every day. So if you got questions for me, I will always answer your questions on Discord. But one of the cool things there is I've been doing auctions, and I basically auction off cool stuff I get from Ukraine and auction it off. 50% of the proceeds we put back into Ukraine as a sort of acknowledgement of I want all this work to be helping Ukraine, and 50% of it goes to support my work because I do this full time and I don't make a salary, and I've got to make a salary somewhere. So that's one of the ways I do it is with the gifts. I've shown you guys this before, but I'll show you again really quick. Oops, dropping things here. The auctions end tomorrow. Actually, hold on. To pick something up so I don't leave it on the ground. Don't want my dog to find that. It's a candle. But the auctions end tomorrow. Every Wednesday, the auctions end. And I've got about 9 things up. One of them is a very cool Ukrainian officer's hat. Show you really quick. The trident on the brow there. Very cool Ukrainian officer's hat. And it's neat, too, because it's lightly used, which is kind of cool. It's still got the label inside from the factory in Odessa, Ukraine. Very lightly used. When you look at the inside, you can see little bits of wear, which actually makes it kind of cooler to a collector. Thank you, Jean-François. Merci bien. It makes it kind of cool from a collector's perspective to have it be lightly used. I've got very cool belt that is from Ukraine and don't know about this one. Allegedly, it's the original seal of Ukrainian military intelligence, which was a bat. But then they changed it now to an owl because Russia has the bat as well. And they didn't want to have the same symbol as Russia once Russia invaded. So allegedly, this was the original symbol. The Ukrainians changed their symbol now to an owl because owls eat bats, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Anyway, this is a really cool belt from Ukraine. Neat little buckle. And got a number of other things. Oh, actually, I've got a really nice, I'm not going to take it out of the bag right now, but a really cool Patron hoodie. Patron is the dog, the bomb-sniffing dog. You can see him there. And it's based on a stamp the Ukrainians did for him. Really cool hoodie. It's a summertime hoodie. It's very thin. And the other thing, I think I can show you this. This is pretty cool because this is just the lid of a box, right? I'm very careful about not showing weapons and things or anything derived from a weapon because I also have some things that I auction that are derived from spare parts and things, but I don't want to show that on my live because that would be kind of weird. But this is kind of neat because it's from a Russian ammunition box in Ukraine. And it's just the lid, but I think it's so cool because this would be great on a wall. And I like how you can, see through the holes. I've got one of these that I put in a, thank you, Norway Fox. I've got one of these as well that I have the entire box, but it's been shot through. And I put a disco ball inside the box. So I put a disco ball, as you're saying, light bright, Deb. I put a disco ball inside. So the light just kind of goes. It's the coolest thing. Anyway, but something like this, I could see like putting an undulating light behind it. Anyway, a lot of cool things. All the auctions end tomorrow at different times. Go check them out. Very cool stuff. And it's over at discord.aravosis.com. And our paying members, remember I said the membership folks, whether it's the members on Discord, the members on YouTube, the Ko-fi members, the Twitch members, and eventually the TikTok members, when TikTok gets it fixed, they're literally trying to fix it right now. They reached out to me. All of them will access our VIP auctions. The VIP section is only for paid subscribers. The public auctions are for everybody. All right, let's do questions. Let's do everything. Thank you, Phil, for the super sticker. Appreciate that. All right, guys, let's go. let's talk. What we got going on? Do you think Wagner will get involved in Niger if they can? Yeah, I think so. In Niger or Niger, it was Niger. Niger's how I was grown up saying it. And you're supposed to say Niger, sort of the French way. So Niger had a coup recently. Military takes over, and the Wagner folks have already kind of offered their help. Mind you, these guys are mercenaries. They work for African governments who want extra military muscle. In a way, it's, they're mercenaries, right? They're an army. You can hire an army. Well, if I were Wagner, and I think Wagner pretty much did this, and Putin, it's a government that was, more or less pro-Western. I mean, it was French, whatever, and gets overthrown. And the new guys might be more pro-Putin, might be more pro-Russian. If I were Russia, I'd go in there and I would offer the Wagner guys to help and basically put the Wagner guys on the ground so that everyone else is afraid to go in and do anything, right? Basically afraid to go in, the West, the French, the neighboring countries, because the Wagner guys are there. So I would not be surprised if the Wagner guys go. The thing is, the coup leaders have got to accept it first for the Wagner guys to actually go. But I think they were offered. So that's, that would be bad though, because that would be a nice way to short circuit any way to overthrow them, Anyway, Pentagon has briefed as I have described. What do you mean? About what, Tomcat? Did I get something right? Hopefully. Anyway, so what else is going on, guys? Oops. What else is going on? Ask me, or topics you want to talk about. How is Patreon doing? We don't talk about Patreon. Yeah, Patreon's kind of anti-Ukraine, which is too bad. So we don't talk about them. It's too bad because they were very easy to have people sign up to Patreon, but I'm not allowed to use Patreon now to give you guys any benefits on Discord or anything because they threatened me. So you can still sign up on Patreon to support my work, but you're only supporting my work generally. You're not getting access to the Discord or anything else because Patreon threatened me. Thank you, Lise, and threatened a lot of other pro-Ukrainian creators. Thank you, Marie, for the paper crane. Kep says, did you see the report that Russian authorities are selling real estate in Mariupol to Russian citizens? No, but I'm not surprised. Thank you, Ava, for the gift. I'm not surprised, right? I mean, why wouldn't they? They're going to try to populate all of the occupied territories with as many people as they can because they want so many Russians to be there that it's impossible for the Ukrainians to get rid of them. And mind you, it's quite possible for the Ukrainians to get rid of them. Any Russian citizens who think the Ukrainians are going to sit there and go, gosh, I guess you're squatting in our house. I guess we're not going to take it back. Good luck for that. Poland closing its borders. Poland, I'm trying to remember if it was Poland or Lithuania closed a couple border crossings. Poland, I don't recall. There's two things going on with thank you, Timothy. Two things going on, and Marie for the crown. Two things going on with around Belarus, right? Remember we mentioned the Wagner group being there. The border countries, the NATO countries, Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, are worried about the Wagner group, the mercenaries being next door in Belarus. That's the first concern. They're there. What could they do? Could they come across? Second, they're worried about Belarus has been playing games of basically getting migrants and just forcing them across the border. Basically just opening Belarus's border and letting as many migrants come through as possible and shoving them into the NATO countries to cause unrest in the NATO countries. Basically, immigration, controversial issue. If you've got, something like the European situation where so many migrants have come across the borders. So that's another reason why the border countries like Latvia, Lithuania, Poland have been either closing borders, putting more troops there, tightening the borders, etc. Hey, Marion in Paris, you're so cute. You always check in around this time. Nicholas, what are you asking about? Sorry. Did Julia have a super chat? Oh, Julia, I didn't see it. Hang on. Did not see your super chat. Could Putin's popularity be because everyone who didn't like him left Russia? Yes. I mean, that's thank you guys. I totally didn't see Julia's question. Thank you for that. That's something to keep in mind. Whenever, for example, when American polls say Republicans think blah, blah, you've got to keep in mind that I think it's like a third of the electorate, I think, describes themselves as being independent now. A lot of those could be Republicans who, because of Trump or whatever, didn't want to call themselves Republicans anymore. But are they really independent, or are they independent-minded Republicans, right? So it kind of, so my point in bringing this up, thank you, Bonnie, is you might see, for example, we do see, I mean, I don't want to get into all the politics of this, but something like 70% of Republican voters think the election was stolen last time. But a lot of the Republicans who don't think the election is stolen, a lot of them may not call themselves Republicans anymore. They may call themselves independents, right? So all of a sudden, if they left the Republican Party, you remained, people calling themselves Republicans are kind of super Republicans. So those poll numbers would be even higher. And the same thing could be true of the Russians, where the people who left, 1 million of them who don't support the war, literally left the country. That's of a country of, 153 million people, of adults. I don't know how many adults there are in Russia, whether it's, 80 million adults, 70 million adults. I don't know if Alexa, how many adults are there in Russia? I don't think it can do this. Alexa, how many adults are there in Russia?
In 2023, the population of Russia is 144 million people.
Now, Alexa, what's the breakdown of adults and children in Russia?
Sorry, I don't have an answer.
Nah, I didn't think it's too complicated. Yeah. But in any case, so I would bet, you're talking 1.5%, 2% of the population all of a sudden just went poof. Anyway, very interesting. Yeah, well, lots of other questions. I know it's always funny because everybody's Alexas and Googles go off whenever I speak to them. Thank you, JRD, for the gift there. Children, 15%. It's got to be more than, well, I would think it's more than that, but who knows? Although Russia's also having a demographic crisis too. When will F-16s fly? Supposedly the F-16s will not be there until next spring. That was the latest we heard about a week ago. So the F-16s are not going to be there anytime soon. I did read interesting story today. I didn't mention it because there's not enough news in it. It was giving examples, but it's an interesting story in the Wall Street Journal. I subscribe, that talking about the cluster bombs, the cluster munitions that the U.S. provided to Ukraine, and how they've actually been, thank you again, Julia, for that. I'm sorry I didn't see it. They've actually been quite helpful. And quite helpful. Thank you, Phil, by the way, for the super sticker. Ukraine, basically, they've been providing a lot of benefit for Ukrainian troops already, which has been great. But I'm trying, why was I even thinking of this? Forgetting what somebody's comment got me thinking of that in terms of F-16s. Yeah, in terms of the F-16s. The big problem for the counteroffensive, two big problems. One, Ukraine waited too long, and it wasn't Ukraine's fault, but they were waiting for aid to come from the West, and the West was being really slow in getting it there, aid and training. And two, Ukraine doesn't have the air support it needs. Now, F-16s would help a lot. It's not probably enough, but it would help a lot. But Ukraine didn't have the air support it needs to be pulling off what it's pulling off. So it's very slow, and it's going to take a long time. And people should just be ready for that. But nonetheless, the F-16s would help, but they're not getting there till next spring. So unfortunately, what else? Yeah, there's been, Devin asks, do you keep a close eye on the Russian ruble and their economy? I know the Russian ruble has been going down a lot lately. That's good. It makes Russian imports more expensive. Mind you, there's a lot of Russian import. There are fewer imports in a way because we've all boycotted them, but nonetheless, they do still import a lot of stuff. It makes Russian imports more expensive. It makes Russian exports cheaper, which potentially makes them sell more. But it can be, the other thing going on with the Russian economy is, what was it? Oh yeah, the Russian spending is going to be interesting too, because I mentioned this the other day, but I didn't mention this aspect. Because the Russian government Putin is planning on increasing defense spending to become 1/3 of the budget. Now, 1/3 is insane. I forgot how much America's is. It's not, I'm going to guess a few percent, but actually, maybe it is more than, hang on a second. Alexa, what percentage of the U.S. budget is defense spending? 10%?
From LATimes.com. Currently, the United States spends 18% of its budget
18.
on defense.
Okay, that's way more than I thought. 18%. That was way more than I thought. Although I guess if it's 800 billion, it makes sense. So the U.S. is 18%. Putin is going to increase theirs to 30%. The problem is they don't have money. They don't have the money to do it. And because they're spending so much money on defense, it's artificially inflating the economy, which is giving people a sense that things aren't as bad in Russia, but it's artificial because there's the government pumping in so much money. The government potentially is going to increase their debt significantly. The second big problem is potentially inflation because there's so much money the government's pumping into the economy. So that's going to be an interesting sort of side thing. But yeah, I saw that the Russian ruble keeps going down and is kind of in a, well, they're saying a free fall. I don't know if it's totally a free fall. But, you know, we're still kind of waiting for the Russian economy to collapse. It ain't there yet, clearly. But 18% is a lot. Yeah. Yeah. No, it is a lot. Then again, I mean, Callum, the thing is, look at Ukraine. I mean, when it comes down to it, the U.S., you know, I mean, the world needs the U.S. to be spending a lot on defense because we're the guys that get involved a lot, you know? I mean, but it is a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. What else we got? PB&J. Oh, hang on a second. Yep. So Phil, thank you for that. PB&J, do you think the West is airing their disappointment in the speed of the counteroffensive to throw blame away from the West's inaction early on? So PB&J is talking about something where the bye-bye Stitch on TikTok. So there was a story on CNN today, kind of weird. Oh, actually, I forgot. I did actually get a clip. The problem is it's not like it's easy to pull up. I was going to get a clip. I remember I promised you guys that when I oops, where is this? Come on, you can do this. Come on. That when I block somebody, here we go. My new clip.
Morning, Buster. Good morning, Angels.
Morning, Charlie.
That's my new clip for when I bop a troll. It's my Charlie's Angels clip. Anyway, hang on a second. So yeah, there was a story on CNN today talking about, you know, a lot of people in the West are disappointed with the counteroffensive and this kind of crap, and interviewed some experts that said, you know, well, there's a couple different things. One, we shouldn't have expected the counteroffensive to be like boom, like what happened last fall. We knew the Russians had dug in. We knew the Russians had laid so many landmines. We knew that Ukraine doesn't have the aviation support it needs. And without it, this is very difficult going. So it's going to be going slow. So none of this should have surprised us. I mean, anybody, and I mean, you know, maybe I surprised myself too, but anybody who thought Ukraine was going to be able to go boom through massive minefields is crazy, right? Having said that, if you remember, when sort of this big second phase of the counteroffensive was announced maybe 2 weeks ago, a week or two, maybe was a week ago, maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, Western officials, I think it was American officials, were saying, oh, well, we should know in the next 3 weeks, like in the next 3 weeks, Ukraine may reach the coast. Like that Ukraine was going to go from here all the way to here in 3 weeks, which is insane, right? But they were putting out that kind of language. And now, of course, everyone's going, oh, we're very disappointed. Why? You know, you're disappointed because you had unrealistic expectations. So I don't know what's going on. I think any Western official is an idiot who's saying publicly they're disappointed, or even saying it, I mean, anonymously to the media. All you're doing is, you know, you're just undercutting support for Ukraine and you're hurting Ukraine. So I just don't get what, but I also think it's stupid because nobody should have thought they would have been able to pull all that off this quickly, you know? Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, doesn't really matter, Nicholas. I mean, in a way, I'm sorry, Nicholas asked an interesting question getting into sort of U.S. defense spending. The U.S. protects a lot of countries, but would those same countries protect us if we needed it? Maybe, maybe not, but it doesn't really matter. This is sort of the issue of in foreign policy. Oh, I'd say in life, actually. In life, I'm going to do stuff that benefits me or my family or my loved ones or people I care about, right? If helping you benefits me, I'm going to help you. Thank you, Wayne. Let me rephrase this. If helping you significantly benefits me, if not helping you really hurts me, then I'm going to help you. Even if you're a jerk, even if I know you would never come and help me, but this is where foreign policy comes in. The U.S., our theory, but all countries is, We get involved around the world when we think our vital national security interests are threatened. Even if those countries wouldn't help us, it doesn't matter because we are worried about Russia. We are worried about Russia becoming the Soviet Union again. We're worried about Russia eventually even going to war against us like the Soviets did. And therefore, we've got to stop them in Ukraine because it's by the way, A, stopping Russia, but B, it's stopping China too. That by stopping this in Ukraine, we're sending the message to China that you better not start a war in Taiwan, right? Thank you, I would block me. None of that is contingent on whether Taiwan, on whether Ukraine or anybody else would come to our defense. Of course, I would prefer that they would, not that it really matters much, right? I mean, Taiwan, I guess they could give us semiconductor chips, but what are they going to do, right? If we go to war. But nonetheless, I don't really care if they help us. What matters to me is defending Taiwan going to save their semiconductor chips? Thank you, Marcin. 2/3 of the world's semiconductor chips come from Taiwan. 90% of the best semiconductor chips come from Taiwan. That's what I care about. Even if Taiwan was never going to come to America's defense, I don't want China getting the control of the world's semiconductor chips, right? So it's worth it. Stopping Putin is worth it to the U.S. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't really matter. This is where I get annoyed with, frankly, it used to be Democrats and now it's some in the Republican Party that play this, Europe should take care of it. And if Europe doesn't, then too bad. Well, yes, I agree. Thank you, Marcin. I'd like Europe to take care of it. But if Europe can't or won't take care of it, I don't want Putin to win because that hurts me as an American. That hurts my country. So I forget, is this the tragedy of the commons? I think it's called in economics. I think it is, where basically everyone kind of benefits. And I think isn't the tragedy of the commons where everyone benefits and therefore nobody kind of helps out because they think somebody else will? I think that's what it's called. Help me out, economics people, but I think that's what it's called. And sometimes it means that the U.S. has got to jump in and do it anyway, But any case, that is what Chazak? I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Anyway. What else we got? What else we got? By the way, I'm watching a really interesting TV show. If you've never seen it, is The Man in the High Castle on Amazon. I saw it for the first time several years ago. Didn't even know about it when it was out. I don't know how I didn't. Fascinating TV show. It's about, just because all this got me thinking of it, I don't know why, but I've been watching it again. It's about the world if the Japanese and the Germans won World War II and America is divided in half and the Germans control the East Coast and the Japanese control the West Coast. Absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. But it's a wonderful TV show. Absolutely wonderfully well done and really creepy. I mean, it's a creepy show too, because you're watching this and your country was taken over and it's just creepy. Anyway, I was just thinking about it as we're talking about all this really fast because we're talking about defense and foreign policy and all of that. Really creepy. Not going to give anything away. Well, no, once you watch the show, the first 5 minutes, you're going to know. Actually, once you watch the show, the opening credits are going to tell you what I just told you that the country was doing. It's called The Man in the High Castle. The Man in the High Castle. It's on Amazon. You might be able to buy it elsewhere, but it's on Amazon. I don't know if it's 3, 4, 5 seasons. Excellent. I mean, excellent. Not Hightower, Castle. The Man in the High Castle. Yep. Excellent show. Yep. So good. I used to say Hightower, but it's not Hightower. Oh, she hears the neighbors in the hall again. Sasha. Oh, God. My dog. It was Philip K. Dick. Yes, Sally. Yep. Yeah, he wrote a book, I guess, on it. Sasha. I mean, she just learned that she loves the neighbor. I mean, she loves the neighbors anyway. So anytime she hears them in the hall, she goes insane. Turning my lights down a little. She goes insane trying to get her to play with the neighbors. At least I'm surprised. At least she doesn't always listen when I yell. That's she's getting a little better about listening, which is good. That was a surprise right there. But yeah, no spoilers, but it's an excellent show. What else we got here, guys? What else we got? Yeah, it's a very good show. I'm watching it again for the second time. I sort of wait several years for the second time and then, sort of get over it. But anyway, Beep, beep. There we go. Anyway, what else, guys? What else? Anything else you want to talk about? Questions, news, comments? Let me know. In Syria? Oh, I mean, I'm not sure what you mean, Corporal Bonkster. I mean, I know about the U.S. killing the Wagner guys in 2018, but I'm not sure what you mean. I'll do the recap in a minute, just seeing if people have more questions or China. Okay, so Moldy is Sanders was asking on TikTok, what's up with China speaking out more negatively about Russia recently? So I don't know if they're speaking more negatively about Russia, but China recently went to this Saudi Arabian peace conference about Ukraine. This is the peace conference that pretty much everyone was invited to except Russia, which is interesting. China did not go to the first peace conference that was held in Copenhagen. The second one of the same group in Saudi Arabia, they were invited again. This time they didn't say no, they said yes. Very interesting, right? What's going on? I don't know. I think China is trying to play both sides. I think China doesn't want Russia to lose. China likes having Russia as the man. It should be the man in the high castle. Somebody Google it and make sure for me, because people are asking again what the name of the show is, but I think it's High Castle. Somebody Google and find out. But China doesn't want Russia to lose. But let's face it, we had read a few months after the war started that Putin went to China in February, right before the war started, and supposedly told, hey, God, Sasha couldn't care less what I tell her. It's like, God. This is the problem of having a terrier too. She knows better. She just doesn't care. When I say quiet, she's like, sometimes yes, sometimes no. China got snookered by Putin to a degree, according to the articles, according to China, the people they interviewed. Putin had made it sound like the war was going to be quick. It was going to be over soon. It wasn't going to be that big of a war, And what happens? It ends up being quite a big war. It ends up going on for a year and a half. Putin is committing war crimes every day. And he's blowing up grain that's supposed to go where? To China, right? So China's not real happy, I think, with where the war is heading and all of that. Oh, God. You know what it is too? I think her buddy, one of the neighbor dog who she hated last year and now likes, Sasha. I think the neighbor's dog, who's, like I said, she. Oh my God, I'm just gonna kill her. Sasha. Quiet. Jesus Christ. Hold on. I'm going to see. Hold on. Letting it is the neighbor's dog. Hold on. Letting the neighbors know that now is not a good time. Sorry, I think the neighbors forget that I do this every day at 6. Okay, it's the neighbor's dog who, this is actually funny. The neighbor's dog, she hated last year, absolutely hated this dog, and now loves the dog. So now she hears the dog comes to our door and she goes to their door, and they literally sit there and make noise until the other one comes out. It's very cute and funny, but also annoying as hell. So any case, China, yeah. So anyway, I think what's going on is I'm saying she, the dog, but Xi, he's trying to distance himself from Russia, but not really. I think he's trying to be a little more in the middle. Maybe he thinks for developing countries he needs to. Maybe he's worried about, thank you, Emma Fuller. Maybe he's worried about the economy and the U.S. and Europe. I don't know. I mean, I'm not really sure, but I don't think, oh, hey, Nick in Jamaica, I don't think we should necessarily assume that China has suddenly become the good guy here and that they're going to criticize Russia. But it is a slight movement a little bit away, which is very interesting, So, yeah. And yeah, Jake, we talked about the Wagner thing earlier. I'm guessing you came late about Niger. I think they would certainly love to. The Russians would love to have Wagner get in there and help support the coup. The question is whether the Nigerian junta wants that to happen. I don't know, but I believe they've already offered from what I saw in the news today. I think so. Yeah, nothing really happened at the conference though. The conference was basically they agreed to have another conference. Like I don't know when, but a third meeting. So, what more, guys? Anything else here? More. Just looking here. All right. Well, I'm going to do a quick summary then, and maybe we'll be done for the night. Well, if what would happen if he actually took Kyiv? If he actually takes Kyiv, he would win the war potentially. I mean, it would be very bad. I don't know. Alex and Luna, I don't know what's going on with Turkey. I mean, Turkey we thought was going to be sort of stopping more of the Russian ships from going through, and they're not. So I don't know what the deal is there. Can we expect to see more of Ukraine's sea drones? Yes. Well, okay. I'll sort of wrap that one up and then do the recap. I mean, we saw that Zelensky said today, he threatened Russia. He said, stop attacking my ports or we're going after all of your shipping. I think that is not an idle threat from Zelensky. And honestly, if I were Zelensky, I'd be going after Russian ports and Russian shipping anyway. Ukraine doesn't have a choice. It's going to take a very long time to kick Russia out. They need to weaken Russia as much as possible. And that means stopping Russian imports. And honestly, that means going after their boats, means going after their shipping, means going after their ports, but really going after them. Now, I don't know whether a lot of them are getting stopped. I don't know whether Ukraine has only a small number of these drones and they can only do so many, but I think they need to ramp it up significantly, to go after Putin, because you got to go after his economy. I mean, it's anything they can to basically stop, to basically weaken the Russian war machine. And the oil is a big deal. And a lot of the oil and a lot of the grain goes through those southern ports. I mean, part of the problem for Ukraine is here's the thing. Part of the problem for Ukraine is, I was thinking about this the other day. The very fact that the West was always playing this, don't make Putin angry, we don't want escalation, all this kind of BS, right? The fact that we were doing that, and therefore we didn't give F-16s, we wouldn't even give them MiGs, we wouldn't even give them the planes they've got at the beginning of the war because we didn't want to anger Putin. Well, all of that, remember, and then we don't want them using the weapons to attack Russia. All of that, we're holding off because we want to make sure things don't go crazy. That the Ukrainians don't attack Russian territory, etc. We are setting Ukraine up for a situation where Ukraine is going to have no choice but to go crazy on Russia. And I'm talking if the Ukrainians are in danger of losing the war, and losing the war means losing their country. Putin will wipe out that country and make it a part of Russia, and they will cease to exist as a nation, and they will cease to exist as a culture other than a diaspora, okay? If that's what's happening, and you're Ukrainian, you're not going to sit there and go, but let's make sure we don't attack Russia proper, because that wouldn't be nice, right? You're not going to sit there and go, oh, but let's not attack commercial ships going to Russia, because that would be a war crime. Russia does that, but we wouldn't want to do that. What you're going to do if your country is about to lose, you're going to pull out all the stops. Honestly, you're going to do what Israel would do, right? That'd be my question. What would Israel do? Ironic, twisting the phrase around like that. But WWID, Israel would blow up every freaking ship that dared go into a Russian port. Actually, they would blow up one commercial ship from whatever country, and it would stop everybody from coming in. But what worries me is that the NATO, because we've been so tepid and so afraid and so whatever, we are putting Ukraine in the situation that Ukraine will eventually possibly have to do the exact kind of fighting that we're afraid of them doing, which is the dirty fighting, the fighting where they take it to, like I said, going after commercial shipping, going after this kind of stuff to shut down the Russian ports, going after the Russian homeland itself in a really dirty way, right? I mean, if push comes to shove and they're in danger of losing the war, all bets are off, and they're going to do stuff that's going to make Biden's skin crawl, and they're going to be right to do it, because what do you do if you're about to lose your country? Anyway, bleh. I mean, I don't know if all's fair in love and war, because there are rules to follow. I do think that the rules become questionable when you're about to lose and have your country wiped out entirely. Thank you, Tugas, right? If I were a Jew in World War II, I don't think I'd be worried about the rules of war. Right? That's my point. When you're talking about your annihilation that's coming, I would not be worrying about the rules of war. Even though I agree, we should worry about the rules of war. But when you're being annihilated, practically, no. Right? And Ukraine is, I think, we are forcing Ukraine into a situation where they will have to fight in a way that we don't want them to. And we're the ones forcing them to do it, which is what's so crazy. All right. Let me do a quick summary, guys, of the news, and then we're going to call it quits. I did Discord last night, so I won't do it again tonight, maybe tomorrow. Today is day 530 of Putin's 3-day special military operation. Putin did a double tap missile attack on the eastern Ukrainian town of Pokrovsk near Donetsk. 7 people were killed, 80 injured, where the Russians basically waited 30 to 40 minutes and then hit with another missile, hoping to kill as many first responders. Thank you, Bonnie. As many ambulance, medical people, cops, civilians trying to save people as possible. There are reports of a large number of Ukrainian troops crossing the Dnipro River in Kherson province. Don't know if it's been confirmed yet. I should say, have not seen confirmation of it yet. But putting it out there, just keep in mind, 70 ships appeared to be backed up along and near the Danube River. According to Sky News, those would be ships that would be trying to come to Ukraine to export grain, but now they're afraid of Russia. Zelensky called on Russia to stop hitting Ukrainian ports, or he warned Ukraine will respond in kind, hitting Russian shipping and Russian ports. Wagner is constructing a new camp, a tent city near Ukraine in Belarus. They're also conducting a lot of weapons fires and exercises near the border with Poland, trying to be obnoxious. Belgian newspaper, actually, I think a lot of papers are covering today now that it looks like the German government managed to buy 50 Leopard 1 tanks off of a private dealer who a private corporation had bought these tanks like 10 years ago from the Belgian government and just kind of had them. And the German government has bought them back, going to fix them and at least give 30 to Ukraine. What I don't know is whether these are 30 more or whether these are 30 part of the entire German promise. It'd be nice if they were 30 more. Otherwise, it's just the same promise as before, right? I've not seen that yet. And finally, I talked about some new polling in Russia showing that actually Putin is at least twice as popular as before the invasion, and 48% wanted to see him reelected before the invasion. 68% want to see him reelected now. So a lot more popularity for Putin that seems to be hanging in there for him in the polls. All right, guys, I'm going to call it quits now that the dog is quieted. Join me tomorrow. Actually, I'm not going to go to the Discord to hang for a chat, but I always go to the Discord and check it out all day long. So if you want to go to the Discord, you want to ask me questions, feel free, or just hang out and chat. In the comments, go there. It's discord.aravosis.com. It's free. Go check it out. Otherwise, you will see me tomorrow night, Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S. And don't forget to go to the Discord and check out the auctions, because all the auctions end tomorrow. So if there's something you liked, keep an eye on it, because it ain't going to be there forever, various times throughout the day. All right, guys. Thank you all for helping. Thank you all for the gifts, for hanging out. It didn't feel very trolly tonight. Maybe it was. I don't know. Was it less trolly tonight? It felt a little less. Maybe not. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. Okay? All right. Thank you, mods. Thank you, everybody. See you all then.